today I wanted to show you how to pick out your horse's hooves. And before we get started, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel for more weekly horse videos. Alright, so when you first go to clean your horse's hooves, the first thing you're going to want to do is secure your horse so they can't walk off when you go to pick up their feet. There's a number of ways to do this, whether you're just ground tying them off as I did here, or even just holding the rope in your hand when you pick out their feet. Just a quick side note, if you're working on your horse's hooves, I always recommend tying them to a breakaway strap, like this twine here. That way if they pull back or something like that, they'll be able to break away and keep going backwards instead of jumping forward and running into you. Alright, so when you go to pick up your horse's feet, one thing that's very important is that you have the correct position next to your horse. So the correct position to pick up your horse's foot, you're going to want to stand perpendicular to the leg that you're picking up. That means your body and the horse's body should form a right angle. And you don't want to be standing behind their leg or in front of their leg. You want to be right beside it. Alright, and same thing for the back legs. You want to be standing right next to them with your side up against the horse. Something that's really important is you don't want to be standing like this far away. You want to be standing right up next to the horse, and God forbid if the horse goes to kick you, the closer you are to them, the less power they're going to have behind their kick. So if I get kicked right here, it's going to be a lot less painful compared to if I'm standing right here or, you know, behind them or something like that. Alright, so once you're in the correct position next to your horse, it's time to pick up your horse's legs. One thing I tell people, if you're working with a green horse or maybe a horse you don't know, always start by running your hand down their leg. That just lets them know you're there, and it also lets them anticipate what you're about to ask them to do. Okay, so some horses will just automatically pick up their feet. You know, they start to anticipate it when you run your hand down their legs. But sometimes you're going to have to apply pressure and actually ask them to pick up their leg. There's a few ways you can do this. The first way is by kind of tugging at the hairs on their fetlock. So this is the horse's fetlock right here, and Tucker has some. So I just kind of pinch and I pull up with the hairs, and he'll just pick up his foot like that. Alright, I'll show you one more time. I'm just going to pull on the fetlock a little bit, and he picks his hoof right up. And so if your horse isn't picking up your hoof, their hoof right away, you can just keep applying that pressure until they do what you ask. Another way you can ask your horse to pick up their leg is by gently squeezing the tendons in their back leg. So on the lower part of the leg, right above the fetlock, you have this section right here. You can feel there's a bone right here, and then there's a bone right here. So in between these two bones, there's a gap, and this is where some tendons are. So if you just gently pinch, and that can ask your horse to pick up its hoof. So if you have a really stubborn horse that doesn't want to pick up their feet, something you can try is when you bend down, just kind of lean your shoulder into their shoulder. This is going to make them shift their weight over to the other leg, and so it'll be easier for them to pick up this other leg. So if you incorporate leaning your shoulder against them and then either pulling on their fetlock or pinching that tendon, usually they'll get the hint and they'll pick their foot right up. Okay, so now I'll talk about how to hold the hoof. So when you first get the hoof picked up, check your position. You still want to make sure you're beside the horse rather than like standing like this, where your foot's right under their foot if they put it down. Or you don't want to be standing like this, where if the horse pulls their leg, you can get walloped. Another point is you want to make sure that you're standing up when you're doing this. You don't want to be like crouching or sitting on the ground. That's because if something happens and the horse moves suddenly, you can easily get out of the way if you're still on your feet compared to if you're sitting down on the ground. So you want to stay standing, stay beside your horse. What I'm going to do just depends what hand is your strongest hand to pick out the feet, but either way I'll either hold the hoof with this hand or I'll hold it like this, and I'll use this hand to pick. Before we actually pick out a hoof, I want to show you what a clean hoof looks like. If you know the features of a horse's hoof, it will just be easier in general to get it really good and clean. Alright, so here is a horse's clean hoof. So to begin with, this triangle here is called the frog. It's why horses jump so high. Just kidding. The frog is really the support of the hoof, and the fact that horses are going to walk on this. So that's kind of like the bottom of your foot. This right here is called the sole, just like how we have a sole, a foot sole. Horses do too. This is called the collateral groove. There's two of them right here. This is where you really want to check for dirt and debris and small rocks, because stuff can easily get stuck down in this. And usually there's something right here that kind of sticks out, and this would be called a bar. There's a bar here and a bar here. You can see kind of this ring going around the hoof. This is the hoof wall. And so this is the outside of the hoof coming in to the bottom of the hoof. And then there's gonna be, you can kind of see it right here. It's just gonna be this white line, and that's kind of the inner hoof wall. So where the hoof wall meets the sole is just the white line. So when you're picking out your horse's hoof, you really want to be careful of the frog. If you're not really familiar with the hoof, some people may think that this is a chunk of dirt, but in reality, it's part of the horse's hoof. So when you're cleaning, I would just say, clean your horse's hoof to the point where you can clearly see the sole like this, where you have clearly cleaned out the collateral groove, so you can see where the frog and the groove connect. And also, run your hoof pick along here, so you can see the hoof wall and the white line. Because dirt can actually get stuck in here, and it's kind of a part of the hoof that many horse owners ignore, and then the dirt can actually start growing up into the horse's foot. So you want to keep that clean. Alright, so when you go to clean your horse's hooves, I usually use my hoof pick and my body brush. That's just because I don't have a hoof pick that has the bristles on it. Alright, so when we go to clean our dirty hoof, knowing that the frog is right here, the easiest way to get this dirt out, especially if your horse has shoes on, because if your horse is wearing shoes, the dirt can get packed a lot thicker into their hoof, is you're gonna start basically by digging into the collateral groove. So there's that groove right here, and I'm just gonna go down through the groove and clear that out, and I'm getting a good grip on everything that's in there. You can see he was walking in poop. And you can use a good amount of moderate pressure here. You're not gonna hurt your horse. A lot of people they're too gentle and they can't get the dirt out because they're afraid they're gonna hurt the animal, but you can use a lot of pressure on the hooves. Hey. If your horse tries to pull their hoof back, there's a few things you can do. If you tip their hoof up like that, it kind of keeps them from pulling back. Or if you just keep holding on to the hoof, they'll usually tell the horse that, look, this is not going to work out for you, so. And then they'll usually give up at that point. So Tucker does have some thrush that I've been treating, so y'all will see that. I'm going to just run the blade of my hoof pick along the white line like I was telling you guys. I just want to make sure I'm getting the dirt out of there. And really clean out these grooves, because that's where he's been having thrush issues. And then since he has thrush, he's kind of developed this crack down into his frog. So I'm just going to clean that out, but if your horse doesn't have thrush, they shouldn't have this crack. And I've just been treating that. Alright, now I'm going to take my soft brush. Just going to brush away all the excess dirt that we have here. There you go. After you've cleaned your horse's foot, you want to gently put their hoof back down on the ground. This will just keep their hooves from getting bruised, and it will also teach them that you're the one who has to put their hoof back down on the ground, not them. Because if your horse gets in their mind that they're the ones who can put their hoof back down, then it can be a lot more difficult trying to keep their feet up when you're working with them. Because in the horse's mind, they can just put it down whenever they want. Ideally, a horse's hooves will be cleaned every day. The reason you want to clean your horse's hooves regularly is to help keep those hooves free from debris or rocks or sticks or anything that may cause your horse discomfort to be walking on. Another reason you want to clean out your horse's hooves is because when mud and poop and dirt gets packed up into those hooves, bacteria and fungus can easily take root and start to spread throughout your horse's hooves and eat away at the sole. That's what thrush is, basically. Another reason you'll want to clean your horse's hooves is just so you can do a physical check on your horse. When you clean the horse's hooves, you check out the legs, you see how the hoof is doing. That way you can notice anything that's out of the ordinary. Like maybe your horse's hooves do have thrush, or maybe you notice that they're really tender in their feet and they may have an abscess. So when you regularly clean out your horse's hooves, you'll be able to notice things like that and catch these things before it gets any worse. If this video was helpful, please do me a favor, give us a thumbs up, go subscribe to our channel, and keep watching because we have new